Hello, I'm Lee Sanders. Probably like you, I'm currently sheltered in place and learning to best live the COVID-19 experience. Although my daily routines continue to change, I still talk with lots of people who love high school sports. We wanted to share some of these conversations in order to build community, focus on high school sports topics of interest to officials and others, connect our coaches and officials, and chat with talented Louisianians who are passionate supporters of our officiating community. Thanks for listening to The Right Call. We hope you enjoy today's discussion. Today we'll talk football instant replay with Buddy Gingras, a Big 12 replay official, Tuta Salaam, a Big 12 referee, and SEC center judge Kevin Boitmann. Buddy, Tuta, and Kevin have deep LHSAA roots and served as members of our replay team. Good afternoon, Mr. Gingras. How are you doing?
Doing good, Lee. Doing real good.
Listen, I'd like for you to take a second and introduce yourself to our listeners. Tell us a little bit about your background.
Okay, Lee. My name is Buddy Gingras. I am retired, living the good life, golf, football, and golf. Pretty simple. I've been involved in football officiating this will be my 50th year in one capacity or another.
Buddy, will you say that again?
Well, this coming up year will be my 50th, 50, golden anniversary. Sometimes
awesome,
people say,
buddy.
well, maybe it's time you should get out, but started with the LHSAA high school football. Fortunate enough to be able to move into college. I worked on the field in college for a little over 20 years. When replay came aboard, I decided to move off the field and fortunate enough to get into the replay booth a couple of years after replay started. I have been dealing with replay now for about 7 years in the Southland, Mountain West, and Big 12 conferences. So
and Buddy does a lot of flying, right? During
much.
Football season. Tell me that stretch you made from one side of the country to the other, buddy. From what city to what?
Let's see. First 4 weeks of the season was Kansas, followed by Boston, followed by the Rose Bowl in Pasadena, California, and then Hawaii. About as far as you could go, we went.
And then back home to beautiful Alexandria, right, buddy?
Yeah. Beautiful Alexandria. Pineville, actually, but,
Central Louisiana,
we're hardly
that's
on
right.
the map.
There you go.
We're hardly on the map.
Tuta, I'd like to take a second and give you an opportunity to introduce yourself and kind of give us your background.
All right. Thank you, Lee. I appreciate you having me on this phone call. My name is Tuta Salaam. Short is Tuta. Everybody calls me Tuta. I am a civil engineer project manager. Work for the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers. I've been there for almost 22 years. As far as football is concerned, I actually got started in football by two gentlemen who used to work at the Army Corps of Engineers. Both of them are now retired, but they got me into high school football. 2003 was the year they finally dragged me into it. A couple years before that, when they started trying to get me to come out, I just never wanted to do it. So I started in 2003, and I fell in love with it, and I wish I would have started sooner. My career has taken me, at this point in time, I'm college football level. Started college football in 2010. I actually started working with Buddy when Buddy was still on the field as a referee. I was a deep official. I was a field judge and a side judge, and I was on Buddy's crew for plenty games. And I think I actually may have worked with Buddy in his last game on the field. If I'm not mistaken, we worked a playoff game up in North Dakota State, and I think that was Buddy's last game on the field, if I'm not mistaken.
You are correct.
Yes. So
That's
that was
cool.
Buddy.
So what year would that have been? That's a cool story.
Oh, that would be, Buddy, what would that be, like 2012
maybe?
Yeah, something like that.
12, 13, somewhere around in there.
Yes, that would be somewhere around there.
So, Buddy, Tuta started this, and so I'm going to pile on a bit. Buddy's mother was my kindergarten teacher.
Wow.
Well, I can add something to that. Lee's
one
father.
Of my favorite teachers of all time, Miss Gingras. Loved her.
Yeah. Lee's dad, Aubrey, was head football coach at my high school my senior year.
Listen, buddy, I'm not an expert of Bolton football at that point, but I don't think we want to look at the win-loss record that year for the coaching, huh?
Well, the first year wasn't very good. The second year was worse. So, no, we won't go any further than that.
I love it.
Buddy, let's start off and give you a chance to speak to the purpose of instant replay. So why do we have replay?
Well, replay, and replay's probably misunderstood by quite a few people who watch football, who attend football games, but especially who watch, because we're not there to officiate the ball game. We're not there to make a call on every single play that happens. The officials on the field, that's their job. Our job is strictly in case something needs to be corrected or could be corrected or it could be verified. That's basically replay's role. The officials on the field make the call. We operate under the premise that their call is correct. We have to have the video evidence to change the call, and the video evidence has to be conclusive. Sometimes conclusive to somebody, to a layperson, is not conclusive to a replay official, and I think that's where the misunderstanding comes into play. Also, a replay doesn't get involved in every play during the game simply because we're not able to by rule. And I don't think a lot of people understand that. But replay has grown. I think it's gotten larger than the original intent. And the original intent basically was to overturn any egregious error on the field that made a difference in a win or a loss. We do review every play. We're looking at every play. There are things in plays that we can get involved in, not necessarily the final outcome. It's an ongoing process during the whole entire game, during each play in the game. So it's gotten quite involved.
I want to talk about the process a bit. So we had a replay official, and Buddy, since you wear that hat so much, give me 20 to 30 seconds. Being the RO, what's your responsibility?
The RO's responsibility is to make the determination to stop the game or not stop the game on a particular play. Basically, that's what it boils down to. If he does stop the game, then he goes into the process of making the determination whether the call on the field was correct, whether the call on the field, the video evidence was enough to overturn the call, or if you didn't have enough video evidence, the call stands, which just means we didn't have enough video evidence to change the call on the field. And that's in a nutshell what the RO does.
So, Tuta, when you're sitting co-pilot, what are your responsibilities?
Yes, I was what's called the replay communicator. And the replay communicator essentially assists the replay official and has a direct line communication to the field via some type of electronic communication with a headset, and also has a direct communication to the sideline replay assistant. And if the replay official determines that the game needs to be stopped, the replay communicator would give a verbal to the field officials that to stop the game, would also press the button to page the field officials because there's a pager system that goes out, and would also communicate to the sideline replay assistant to step out onto the field to stop the game.
Kevin, can you talk about any other people who were involved in the process?
Sure. Because this was a high school state championship and with National Federation, and this was the first time we were implementing it here, we did have several people involved. Buddy and Tuta talked about the replay official, the communicator, and the sideline replay assistant. What we also had up in the booth was a booth assistant who was double checking down and distance, line the game just by hand as a double check, making sure that all the information was correct in case we had to reset something. We had another official, Paul Merrill, this year, sitting up there as kind of an expert on the National Federation rules. So if there did come an issue that was in question of whether it was a college rule or a Federation high school rule, someone would be there to help us out. And then we had one person sitting in the booth, kind of as just the observer of everything and just kind of the overview of the process. The only other people there would have been people from DV Sport, who served as the technicians of helping calling the TV booth and calling up the plays and sending the video through the communicator to the replay official.
What about the sideline support to the process and the communication to the crew on the field?
Sure. The sideline replay assistant, and that's the person that Tuta was talking about that he would have been in contact with, stood about the 20-yard line on one side of the field. And so when the decision was made, when the button was pressed to page the officials and stop the game, the sideline replay assistant would go out with the headset to meet with the referee and give the headset to the referee so the referee on the field could speak to the replay official. In addition to that, because replay was also double checking every change of possession and every score, even if the replay booth did not stop the game, the replay official and the communicator would tell the sideline replay assistant, we're good to go. So the sideline replay assistant would then signal to the crew that everything is good, the touchdown is going to stand at least, the change of possession is going to stand, and you can go on with the next play. So that was one more layer of communication to the field officials.
Eric Held.
Yes, sir.
Why don't you introduce yourself?
Sure. Eric Held, director of the Louisiana High School Coaches Association. Been in this position for a little bit over a year. Came in as the interim last February, and I've been full-time since June 1st. Was a coach and teacher for 25 years. New Orleans native, coached in the Catholic League for 10 years. Moved to the Natchitoches area for 2, and been in the Baton Rouge area for 13 years before taking this job with the Louisiana High School Coaches Association, and got into football by accident. Like Tuta said, he wishes he would have gotten to officiating earlier. I wish I would have gotten to football a little earlier, but the sacrifices that officials make just like coaches do, and there's so many similarities that coaches don't understand at that time between officials and coaches, but we're all in it for the same reasons, and we want to be as 100% correct in what we do, whether it's the calls we make as coaches, the decisions we make, same thing with officials.
What was your perspective on the processes in place relative to the different job responsibilities, the communication that was going on between not only the people in the booth, but the sideline and then the crew?
Sure. Just the entire setup, just from day one, from when we started talking about getting this going in the state championship games, and then sending a survey out to coaches, and then actually seeing the setup and all the work that went into it and the process that went in, everything that went into it. The average person sitting at home watching a college game or a pro game doesn't understand everything that goes into it. The work that went in, the thought process that went in, the camera angles, and using the camera angles that you have, the communication that went from the booth to the field officials on an every play basis, and talking about where the ball needed to be spotted, just the attention to detail. And it was overwhelming for me to see everything that went into place just to make this happen, how every play was being scrutinized and could be overturned just by the press of a button coming from the booth to the field.
If it was something really big at a critical moment in the game, Mr. Buddy, from your position, just kind of give me your general impression of how it went, because you served in the RO capacity for multiple games on Friday and Saturday.
Lee, I thought, to be honest with you, for the first time out, I will say that I was very, very impressed with the gentlemen that I got to work with up in the booth, and they did an excellent job with not being their normal course of their work, since they were field officials, but they had a very good feel for it. The officials on the field, the gentlemen who actually worked the ball games, never being involved with the replay, also did an excellent job. And I think the best thing they did was, they worked the ball game just like we weren't there. That's really what you want to do.
I think that's a huge, Buddy, I think that's a huge element to the story, and I'm going to try to engage Tuta and Kevin here. Guys, if you've never had a call reversed, psychologically, that's got to be difficult, because as an official, the task we have is challenging enough.
Yeah, Kevin, if I can lead off here.
Sure.
Lee, you kind of touched on it. When we have our calls and our judgments and our actions second guessed by the fans or by the coaches or by the players, we can easily dismiss some of that just because they may or may not understand the rules as well as we do or understand our mechanics as well as we do. But when the replay booth pages to stop the game and then they actually reverse a call or a decision that we made on the field, it can be extremely mentally tough to recover from that. We've had instant replay. I've been involved with instant replay from from a field position standpoint since since its inception, and it does take some time to get used to it. To having, number one, just being paged when you know you just made a really close call, and then number two, coming back and the replay and the result of the replay is that the call is going to be reversed. So it's very difficult. I was extremely impressed with the field officials. And as a matter of fact, I actually went down to the locker room. Kevin and I went down to the locker room and we just told the guys, man, what a great job y'all did, considering the fact. And I think we ended up having like 5 stoppages and we reversed maybe 4 calls.
I think
and
that was 4, Tuta. And those guys did a great job managing change. I think they demonstrated lots of leadership and resiliency.
That's correct. And the referee did a great job making his announcements, and the crew just did a great job staying calm and composed because it can be very difficult to have one of your decisions reversed by the replay booth.
I'll echo everything Tuta said. It was a concern of ours going into the season, and going into the championship. And when we had the meeting in Baton Rouge with the state championship crews, to try to let them know, try not to worry about it. Just officiate your job. We're here to help. And of course, it's easier said than done, but I'll just echo that. They did a great job in all the games of just being able to roll with it and not having a problem.
This call with Tuta, Kevin, and Buddy continues in the next podcast. Thanks for listening.